What have the Romans ever done for us?
Good question. What have the Romans ever done for us?
The aqueduct? Oh, yeah, they did give us that. That's true, yeah. And there's sanitation.
Well, I thought I'd take that question, mix it up a bit, and dedicate this video to our British friends, the British.
Thought you'd gotten rid of us, didn't you? But you were wrong, old bean, because we're back with a vengeance.
God save the Queen, my son.
The British have an incredibly long list of technical, scientific, military, and historical achievements. In this video, I'll be focusing on the cultural triumphs that I think make the British great. And because the Beatles are British, I thought I'd give the British a bit of love with this video I'm calling Top 10 Things the British Have Ever Done for Us. Number 1. The English language and William Shakespeare. There are many beautiful languages in the world, and there are many languages that make no sense, either grammatically or phonologically. English is both beautiful and makes no bloody sense. It is not pronounced the way it's written, and the rules often don't apply to many words for reasons no one can explain. But that doesn't matter, because English is the de facto lingua franca of our age, and has been for at least 100 years. English is the most spoken language on earth, and is an official language of at least 57 sovereign states. English is cool.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it? Yes!
English is arguably the most versatile and beautiful language for poetry and lyrics, which leads us to William Shakespeare, the greatest playwright and bard of the English language the world has ever seen. William Shakespeare was born in 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon and died in 1616 at the age of 52. Weirdly enough is that Shakespeare was born on April 23rd and died on April 23rd. Truly, to die on your birthday is a massive poetic flex. William Shakespeare was an actor and starred in many of his own plays. He's credited with writing 39 plays and 154 sonnets. So many of his plays are considered masterpieces of the English language. They are still taught in schools all over the world. They are still performed on stage, and many have been made into movies. Here are just a few of the iconic titles from Shakespeare: Romeo and Juliet, The Merchant of Venice, Julius Caesar, Antony and Cleopatra, Richard III, Henry VIII, Othello, Hamlet, King Lear, Macbeth, The Tempest, The Taming of the Shrew, Much Ado About Nothing, A Midsummer Night's Dream, etc., etc., etc. Many nations have their great poets and epic works that define a language. In William Shakespeare, the English language has the best bard to have ever barded. Number 2. Fish and chips and Guinness. You have fish and chips battered and fried. Undoubtedly, one of the tastiest, most iconic dishes on earth. Then wash that down with a pint of glorious Guinness, the greatest, most aesthetically pleasing stout on the planet. And what you have is the zenith of British cuisine. Sure, fish and chips and a dirty newspaper is disgusting. And yes, fish and chips was likely imported by Portuguese Jews. But that's okay, because Portugal is Great Britain's oldest ally. Portugal, by the way, gets a few mentions in this video. It's like the British, the Portuguese get around. Fish and chips is as iconic a European dish as a baguette avec fromage from France, or a pizza margherita in Italy, or goat's eyeball stew in Iceland. And Guinness? Yes, I know Guinness is Irish, not British. But Ireland is the second largest island in the British Isles. And so, my Irish friends, you are British. And Guinness, the greatest of all beers, deserves to be on this list. Guinness is a stout originating in the brewery of Arthur Guinness at St. James's Gate, Dublin, Ireland in the 18th century. It is one of the most successful alcoholic brands worldwide, brewed in almost 50 countries and available in over 120. It is the highest selling beer in both Ireland and the United Kingdom. No doubt about it, Guinness is a British beer. Number 3, football, and by extension, rugby, cricket, curling, and golf. The British have a long and proud history of sport. In fact, the British have invented 5 of the most popular sports on the planet. Let's start with football, the king of sports, the beautiful game, the most popular sport by far among humans. Something about kicking a round ball with your feet, running up and down a large field, and prohibiting the use of hands makes this sport so brilliant to play and watch. And unlike most other sports, you don't have to weigh 500 kilos, or stand 8 feet tall, or have bulging muscles in your ears. You can be an Adonis like Cristiano Ronaldo, or a hobbit like Messi and Maradona, and be the best player on earth. Football is the great equalizer of humanity. Created in England with rules being drawn up in the mid-1800s, the sport called association football has since become the most popular sport in over 100 countries. FIFA, the world football governing body, was founded in 1904 and is one of the most powerful sporting institutions on the planet. England, the inventors of football, won its one and only World Cup at home in 1966. But inventing one sport wasn't enough for the British. No, they also had to invent rugby, cricket, curling, and golf. Rugby and cricket are the most popular sports in several countries. Golf is the most popular sport among Freemasons and American presidents, and curling is a popular sport among the frozen icebound nations surrounding the Arctic Circle. We can blame the Scots for both curling and golf. It's their fault.
Doesn't it make you proud to be Scottish?
It's shite being Scottish!
Number 4. Lawrence of Arabia. T.E. Lawrence was a British officer in the Arabian theater of World War I, nicknamed Lawrence of Arabia. He was an instrumental player in the Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire. In the early 1960s, British director David Lean took a massive film crew into the Jordanian desert and gave us the epic biopic of T.E. Lawrence. Starring Peter O'Toole, Omar Sharif, Anthony Quinn, and Alec Guinness, Lawrence of Arabia is the greatest biopic ever made, the greatest war movie ever made, and the greatest action-adventure epic ever made. It has the greatest cinematography, script, acting, and editing in the history of film, and nearly all of it shot on location in Jordan, Morocco, and Spain. Lawrence of Arabia was nominated for 10 Oscars at the 35th Academy Awards in 1963, winning 7, including Best Picture and Best Director, and also for Best Editing, won by British editor Anne V. Coates, one of the most legendary editors in film history. The dramatic score by Maurice Jarre and the Super Panavision 70s cinematography by Freddie Young also won praise from the critics. The score became so iconic that it's now a cliché for any scene or film set in the desert. The dialogue is so clever and sharp, you will never hear a better, more intelligent series of piss-taking insults as in Lawrence of Arabia. Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, Christopher Nolan, and Denis Villeneuve all say Lawrence of Arabia is hands down the greatest cinematic masterpiece of all time. And I agree. Number 5. David Attenborough and BBC Documentaries. If you've never seen a David Attenborough documentary about the nature of planet Earth, then you haven't seen a documentary. His life's work at the BBC is a treasure trove for humanity. Beautifully shot and expertly researched, all of David Attenborough's nature documentaries are classics in the genre. But before becoming the world's foremost nature documentarian, he was an administrator at the BBC and was responsible for commissioning shows like Match of the Day, The Old Grey Whistle Test, and an irreverent sketch comedy show called Monty Python's Flying Circus. Then he became master of nature documentaries. He traveled the world documenting life in all corners of the globe. He even inspired the technological advancement of film cameras, lenses, and shooting techniques, just so he could film life growing in the most unfilmable places. Some of his must-see work in the Life collection include Life on Earth, The Living Planet, The Trials of Life, and The Private Life of Plants. David Attenborough is also famously the brother of actor and film director Richard Attenborough. Richard starred in Jurassic Park and won the Oscar for directing the epic biopic Gandhi, which also won Best Picture. Some good genes in that British family. Top class doesn't even begin to describe Sir David Attenborough's career, who was knighted not once, but twice. Number 6. James Bond. Invented by British author Ian Fleming, James Bond, aka Agent 007 of MI6, is the most famous super spy the world has ever known. First introduced in the 1950s with a series of best-selling books, James Bond then went viral worldwide when the film Dr. No was released in 1962. Since then, there have been 6 actors playing the role of James Bond in at least 26 movies. Sean Connery, George Lazenby, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and Daniel Craig have all earned the license to kill on Her Majesty's Secret Service. The movies also produced some of the most iconic film scores and theme songs in film history. The James Bond theme is the greatest movie theme in all of cinema. It is instantly recognizable and is as good a composition as the very best from the Beatles. Some of the James Bond movies have been terrible, but most have been great, and a few, like From Russia with Love, The Spy Who Loved Me, and Casino Royale, have been absolute classics. And speaking of Casino Royale, another shout out to Portugal here, as Ian Fleming was inspired to write the book after his experiences working as a British spy in Lisbon during World War II. The Estoril Palace Hotel and Casino is the real Casino Royale. Number 7. The Beatles and the British Invasion. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, 4 working-class lads from Liverpool, took over the entire planet with their little rock and roll combo. It's almost unfair to talk about the Beatles as being the best band of all time. But they are. The Beatles are the best boy band of all time, the best songwriters of all time. They have objectively the best string of albums of all time. They have the most number ones of all time. In John and Paul, they had 2 of the best lead singers of all time. With George, they had the best 3-part harmonies of all time. They are the best-selling band of all time. They have the most versatile and diverse canon of all time. The Beatles are the most influential rock fashionistas of all time. They are the most studied band of all time, obsessed over by intellectuals and historians. More books have been written about the Beatles than any other band. The Beatles released 5 movies between 1964 and 1970, with A Hard Day's Night still considered by many, including myself, as the best rock and roll movie of all time. The Beatles also have the most biopics of all time, the most podcasts of all time, and the Beatles have the most dedicated YouTube channels of all time. Channels just like this one. And then there was the British invasion, which, if not for the Beatles, likely would never have happened. The British invasion was the cultural and musical force that swept the world in the wake of Beatlemania, the single greatest mass mind control experiment of all time. We're talking bands like the Rolling Stones, The Who, Pink Floyd, and Led Zeppelin. And there were the subsequent waves of bands in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. The Beatles and the British invasion, or invasions really, might be the greatest of all the great British things to have ever come out of Great Britain. Number 8. Monty Python. And just as the Beatles were breaking up, about to exit stage left, in come Monty Python, the greatest troupe of comedic actors and writers the world has ever seen. 6 blokes, 2 from Oxford, 3 from Cambridge, and 1 Americano joined forces in 1969 to write and star in Monty Python's Flying Circus, a sketch comedy show on the BBC. From there, they went on to produce 3 of the funniest, most intelligent, most quotable, and radically absurdist films in the history of movies: Monty Python's Holy Grail, Life of Brian, and Meaning of Life. They also gave us albums, books, songs, live tours, and stage musicals. The individual members of Monty Python, John Cleese, Terry Jones, Terry Gilliam, Eric Idle, Graham Chapman, and my personal favorite, Michael Palin, also went on to produce great documentary series and brilliant films on their own. 2 of my favorite films are the classic A Fish Called Wanda and what many consider to be the first ever mockumentary, inspired by the Beatles of course, The Ruddles, All You Need Is Cash. Monty Python, the greatest comedy troupe of all time. Number 9. Harry Potter and Peppa Pig. Of all the great British things on this list, Harry Potter is my least favorite. Personally, I like Peppa Pig better than Harry Potter, but both are international superstars. Harry Potter the Boy Wizard is the main character in a children's fantasy book series written by British author J.K. Rowling. The first novel, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, was released in June of 1997. Since then, the books have become the best-selling series in history, selling over 600 million copies worldwide and translated into dozens of languages. Of course, the books were turned into movies, but the movies are not that great in comparison. If you grew up with the movies, you might disagree, but objectively speaking, Harry Potter movies are for kids and the fans only. The first film, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, is by far the most interesting. The world building created by author J.K. Rowling is magical indeed. Even us non-fans have to admit that the Harry Potter universe is a literary force to be reckoned with, and a cultural juggernaut. Rowling is the Pied Piper of literature. Kids love her Harry Potter books, her Harry Potter spin-off books. They love the movies, the plays, the musicals, the endless metric tons of plastic merchandise, clothes, toys, board games, video games, and there's even the new series currently in pre-production. And I almost forgot. Britain's oldest ally, Portugal, once again makes an appearance here as J.K. Rowling lived in Portugal between 1991 and 1993, where she began to write the first Harry Potter book, inspired in Portugal, much like Ian Fleming's James Bond. If you go to Porto, and especially Coimbra, you will see the Portuguese university students roaming around the dark, cobblestone streets like vampires in their black and white academic vestments and dramatic black capes called capas. Capas just like this one. This is my capa, a real academic capa from Portugal. And then there is Peppa Pig. I love Peppa Pig. First time I became aware of Peppa Pig was back when my daughter, the Beetle Kid, was a toddler. Peppa Pig, created by Neville Astley and Mark Baker, is an animated kid show aimed at preschoolers. It's about a piglet named Peppa, her family, and her animal friends at school. The episodes are short vignettes that tell a little story or that take us on an adventure. Peppa Pig first aired in May 2004. Peppa's popularity was almost instant. The series became so popular with kids in the US that they even began to speak with a British accent like the characters on the show. The phenomenon became known as the Peppa effect. The show is family-friendly in the old-school tradition. However, every now and then, the writers will slip in a joke just for the parents, which is very much appreciated. And it's one of the reasons why Peppa Pig is loved by kids and parents alike the world over. So much so that the show is now aired in over 180 countries. Number 10. Top Gear Classic and Classic British Cars. Just like how there is no Beatles without Ringo Starr, there is no Top Gear Classic without James May. No Ringo, no Beatles, no James May, no Top Gear Classic. Let me explain. Top Gear started life in 1977 as a motoring magazine show on the BBC. It was good, focusing on car reviews, but it was also a bit by the numbers and not very interesting to non-petrol heads. And yet, the show lasted until December 2001, an impressive 24-year run. In 2002, Top Gear presenter Jeremy Clarkson relaunched the show with a new format. Clarkson, alongside Richard Hammond and Jason Daw, tried hard to make it work, but there was still something missing. Then, in 2003, Jason Daw was replaced by James May, and oh cock, Top Gear Classic was born. The comedy chemistry between the three presenters was instant, and soon the audiences began to grow, as did the budgets and the ambition. By 2008, Top Gear had become the most popular show on the planet, broadcasting in 212 countries. Each week, more than 350 million people around the world were tuning in. Top Gear's creative mix of car reviews, challenges, races, celebrity interviews, serious reporting, absurdist comedy, controversial comments, juvenile explosions, near-death crashes, and epic international specials drew in audiences like no other show before or since. The three middle-aged idiots of Clarkson, Hammond, and May had become the most famous and popular TV hosts on Earth. And then the show became an international franchise, with versions of Top Gear produced in Australia, China, France, Italy, Russia, the United States, and South Korea. The best of Top Gear Classic was hilarious, outrageous, poignant, thrilling, and thought-provoking. The production values were through the roof. The cinematography and editing were far better than anything else on television. And as an editor myself, I can only tip my hat to the editing boffins at the BBC. Top Gear Classic was cancelled in 2015 amid controversy. Since then, the series has tried to reinvent itself and experimented with other presenters, but the magic was gone. Clarkson, Hammond, and May took their winning chemistry to Amazon Prime and hosted the Grand Tour, which was good, but the show never quite hit the heights of Top Gear Classic, the greatest TV show of all time. Now, Top Gear likely wouldn't exist if it were not for the classic British cars throughout history. Beautiful, iconic cars like the Mini Cooper, Aston Martin, Jaguar, Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Land Rover, Jensen, MG, Lotus, British Leyland, and yes, even Morris. Luxury, style, cool. That's the legacy of classic British cars, regardless of liability. And that, folks, is the list. Let us recap. Number 1, the English language and William Shakespeare. Number 2, fish and chips and Guinness. Number 3, football, and by extension, rugby, cricket, curling, and golf. Number 4, Lawrence of Arabia. Number 5, Sir David Attenborough and BBC documentaries. Number 6, James Bond. Number 7, The Beatles and the British Invasion. Number 8, Monty Python. Number 9, Harry Potter and Peppa Pig. And number 10, Top Gear Classic and classic British cars. So there you go, British types. The top 10 things the British have ever done for us. The British are a great people from a great country and a great culture. Don't let anyone tell you different. If you like and subscribe. Can you dig it?